Hey everybody, I am just coming on here today to make a video of some activities that I've created the last couple of days. If you have kiddos around toddler age, these are all great for them. You'll see later I also included some things, some motor activities for children that are working on pulling to stand or standing or cruising, so tune in for those if you have children that are a little smaller. So the first set of activities that we're going to do today are mostly fine motor based. They are great for so many more things too, and I'll explain. So typically at my visits, I will at some point, if I'm seeing a toddler, a lot of the toddlers that I see are the kids that never stop moving and are very motor driven. I'm an OT, so those are my kids. And I have found that so many of them will stop and slow down to figure something out. They will stop for fine motor activities that are simple, that are repetitive, that have a defined start point and end point, which I will explain more as we go. If you've ever done an adult coloring book, the reason that those things calm you down is because you're focused on one thing at a time, and it's repetitive, it's rhythmical, and all of those things apply to these activities that I'm going to show you today. And so typically I will save an old Amazon box and go to the dollar store or use items that are at my house to make what I call the fine motor box to bring over to families' houses to show them how to use with their kiddos, and hopefully they will add to the boxes and use them when I'm not there after I model how the child can be successful with them. So again, all of the items that I used today, I either pulled out of my recycling bin or had on hand, and I think that you will have a lot of them on hand too, and that's why I chose them. So the idea with the fine motor box and kind of the rules of the game when I pass the baton to the family is that the box should stay somewhere out of reach of the child so that they, one, have to communicate to ask for it and get their needs met, and two, so that the items remain novel. If stuff's out all the time, they get sick of it. So those are kind of my two rules for the items. If you decide to put similar items into a box for your kiddo, that's what I would recommend. So let's get started. So the first thing that I had in my recycling bin was dinner that we had a few nights ago. It's cauliflower pizza. So we had two of them because they are not that filling and there's two of us. And so I had two of the boxes. So this is the top of the box. You can use a cereal box, a pasta box, mac and cheese box, whatever you have. It is helpful to have two, and I'll explain why. So I cut the top of the box off and then I drew lines on the back. And what we're making here is a puzzle. So based on your child's experience and where they're at developmentally with puzzles, you can make 2 pieces, 4 pieces, 6 pieces, 8 pieces, wherever you think they're at. So you're just going to draw some lines to make some shapes on the back. I didn't even have a ruler, so I just used another box that I had to make lines. And then you're going to cut the shapes out and make your puzzle. So here's all my puzzle pieces. If you are feeling like your child is not successful with puzzles, often what I see at visits is parents putting all of the puzzle pieces in front of the child, and it's too much. So what I do is start with one piece, one corner, whatever the piece is, put that piece down, and then give them one piece that connects to that piece. If they have success with this, then I will move up and put one piece down and then present them with 2 pieces. One definitely fits, one may or may not fit. And then you can kind of move up from there. So you're really breaking it down for them and just starting off basic and then adding as they become more confident and also as their visual skills develop, because a lot of kids, their visual skills just aren't there yet for, to complete what a picture would look like in their head. So the reason that it's helpful to have 2 of them is just so the kid can have a visual model that they can look to for what it's going to look like at the end. So that's the first thing. Pizza box puzzle. we'll call it. So then I had the cardboard that went under the pizza. And so as you can see, I just drew some lines and then had some colors on it with Sharpie. And then I had these clothespins, which hopefully a lot of people have at their house. It's weird that we all have these at our house still because we don't use them for what they're intended for anymore. But I had these little cute ones that I had used to hang pictures. So I colored, as you can see, a matching color on them. And so this activity is good for lots of things. So usually I will give the child, especially if we're working on language, choices. So choices are great for any toddler because they want to be independent and they want to make choices. But so I might say, do you want the green one or do you want the blue one? They make a choice by pointing, gesturing, making eye contact with me, whatever we're working on, verbal language, of course. And then they get the item and pinch, pinch with their nice fine motor skills and then attach it to the corresponding color. If colors aren't their thing or you want to work on something different, you can put a sticker on here and a matching sticker on there, letters, whatever you feel like working on. So choices, fine motor skills, matching, all great things. So that's that. So next, let's see. I had an empty Bonza box. If you're noticing a theme here, I cannot eat gluten, so Bonza it is. And so I had these colored popsicle sticks. And so again, I did a little matching thing, fine motor, nice little grasp there. It's really hard to do it backwards. There it is, the whole push, 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 isolated finger. And then the top of the box I taped shut, and then I cut this hole there so that when they're done putting all the popsicle sticks that you have or whatever you're putting in, they can shake it and get them out. Another way to work on language with this, obviously making choices, you're slowing the game down too by not giving them all of the items at once. If they don't know how many left you have or what to expect, it's going to make it last longer. Another thing you can do is have them imitate sound effects. So when you're putting it in, zip in, whenever I fill something like this, I love going shake, 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 or once they put one in, shake, shake, shake in between each turn. A lot of kids love imitating that one, making a fun sound effect. So that is that one. Bonza box. You can obviously do that with any box. And then I had this empty protein powder container, and so I made some holes in that too. Again, you can put the popsicle sticks in there, or if you don't have popsicle sticks, I have Q-tips. Again, you can color these with marker and poke those in, poke, 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 in and in. If they're there yet or they want to try some wrist rotation, they can take the cover off after and then dump it out. I will say that John, my fiance, had to help me cut the top of this one because it's hard. I love breadcrumb containers or anything like that, like if you buy the round baking soda things or anything like that that has the softer plastic, that's a lot easier to cut. And then obviously you can use any paper boxes or anything that you're throwing out like that. If you don't have popsicle sticks, you don't have Q-tips, you can cut any cardboard or paper that you have into strips. It's obviously better if it's more like cardboard and a little thicker, so you cut it into strips and then put it in. So that's that. Next up, John made chowder last night and polished off the oyster crackers, so we had another empty box. Something to point out on this one is I put the hole at the bottom, and what I like about that is that I feel like if they can see the opening, then they get distracted opening the big opening the whole time instead of putting it into the small hole, because obviously it's easier to just open the cover. They're like, why are we not doing this? So I always put the hole on the bottom, and then when it's done and it's full, they can flip it around and then open it, figure out how to open it. That's fun too. So again, working on language, you can put different things on here. Stickers, emotion faces, so they're identifying happy, sad, all of those things. working on communication, turn taking. If you want to split them in half and give half of them to a sibling, your turn, his turn, back and forth. You're making eye contact with them, connecting. Their bodies are calm. They're focused on something that's simple. They want to get to the end of it. All good things. So then similarly, I had an empty cream container. So I just cut this part out. And if you want to keep the top on, if they can rotate and take the top off, that's fine. And then I just put paper clips in it. And if you wanted to attach something like this to the wall, tape it on the wall so that stuff was going in and then shooting out into like a bowl or something, that's fun. Next, I usually include this in my fine motor boxes. So I typically will take some kind of shoe box. This is John got work boots, so it's a big one. And I will buy the flashcards at the dollar store that have just a simple one picture and a label under it. They have them there all the time, and they always rotate them. But I didn't have any. That's why I buy stuff at the dollar store, so I can leave it at people's houses if the kids are into it. So I made my own flashcards. So I went around my house, and the only magazines we had were John's construction magazines. So I figured it out and made it work, and I found some pictures of trucks and house and a shoe. So circulars, magazines, junk mail that you're getting. If you see some pictures, you can cut out and then just tape it to index cards. Again, they're making choices between two things: labeling the items, visually identifying, generalizing, so many great skills. And then they're putting it in the box. Again, I put the opening at the bottom of the box, and then when it's done, they can turn it around and figure out how to open it to get them out. So that's fun. And then next up, I had pipe cleaners, and typically I'll buy the colanders at the dollar store for this, but again, didn't have any. So I had this pot that attaches to a pasta pot, so I used that and poked the pipe cleaners through it. So this one you can see I made like little bridges. And so if your kiddo's into cars, they can make these bridges by sticking the pipe cleaners through the holes and then putting their car through. If they have little people or animals, they can be marching their people or animals through. You can put all of the pipe cleaners in here and then see if they can pull them out if you put them in different places. They're using their fine motor skills and visual skills to poke them through the hole. All good things there too. And then last up, I had some makeup pads. So I use these for a lot of things. And if you have pom-poms or cotton balls, or if you don't, you can just cut up a piece of paper towel, like over there, into little squares and use that. So we'll use these to work on kids' oral motor skills. So if your child's working on drinking out of a straw or increasing their tone because they are drooling a lot, or I also use these to work on meditation and mindfulness with kids that I see. So deep, big breaths. So big breaths. And then you can set up a bowl over there and see if they can get it in it. You can put these down on the table and have the kids race blowing them across the table. They can use straws to blow them. All kinds of fun things with these, and hopefully you have something similar at your house that you can use. So that's it for this group of items. I'm going to cut the video and move on to the next section that I set up. So again, keep any container that you use. Your kids can put stuff in it. You can use anything that you have on hand. If you don't have anything on hand, they can use their own toys. So just cut the opening big enough that whatever toys they're into can fit in there. And they can still be troubleshooting if their toys don't fit. So if some of their cars fit in the hole you made and some of them don't, those are too big. Those are small. Those fit. All great language and learning and cognition, fine motor skills, so many great things. And like I said, so many of the kids that I see that I present these items to, they love them and stick with them. And parents are always like, oh my God, they loved it. They sat there for an hour and played with this box putting popsicle sticks in. I never would have thought of that. But again, like we know this about kids. They love boxes. They love simple things. They don't need much, and that's really where kids this age are at developmentally. Their pretend play skills are just emerging, and some of the toys that you might have at home just require a lot more cognition, visual skills than they might have at that age, or where they are in their development, regardless of their age. So good luck with these. Hope they help, and we'll cut to part 2. Hey everyone, so this is stop number 2. Obviously we're in my kitchen, this is the fridge, and there was just an empty wall here, so I set up the next stop here. So the first thing is that I had some bubble wrap in one of the packages. My dog wants to say hi to everybody. So I saved the bubble wrap and I made kind of this runway here. So if your kiddo's crawling or wants to crawl across it, or if they're walking and maybe they're sensory seeking and they are always taking off their socks and wanting to walk barefoot, putting stuff on the ground like this is really fun for them and kind of gives them that feedback that they're looking for. So if they want to walk across the runway to their next stop. This is a sensory bin, the first thing. So I didn't have a huge container, but if you have like a Tupperware type container that you put clothes in, but you can use anything, like any container that you have or even a box. So this is just rice in this one, and then I put kitchen tongs, a wooden spoon, and some little Dixie cups in it. So filling, dumping, putting just the regular toys that they're into in these is fun. So you can use their same toys in new ways. So if your kid's really into cars, you're giving the car a car wash using the rice, you're burying it under rice, and they're pulling it out, they're stuck in the rice like it's mud, all kinds of fun things. If you have little animals that they're playing with, you're feeding them, same kind of stuff. They're stomping through it, they're jumping in it, any of those things. A lot of parents worry with any kiddo that they are going to eat the materials, or won't they eat them and put them in their mouth. They might, and they're learning, and that's okay if they're safe, and this is rice, so it's tiny. If you're worried about it being unsafe, obviously there's tons of baby safe sensory bins online, and you can use water, you can use any food that they're currently okay to eat. So I had a mom send me a video of her little one in a box with peas, which he's okay to eat, so if he ate them it wasn't the end of the world. Cheerios, anything that they're already eating. Another quick tip is that if they have a pacifier, stick the pacifier in their mouth if you're worried about them eating, because it'll at least give you a few seconds for them to pull the pacifier in their mouth to put the item in their mouth. And also kids kind of think that their mouth is off limits when a pacifier's in it. They're not going to put a food into their mouth with a pacifier there. So those are my 2 tips for sensory bins, but using just the toys that they have is fine. So next up, we'll move on to the wall. So this is the sticky side of tape here. So I laid out 4 pieces of tape on the table and then put 2 pieces of tape over them to tape them to the wall. So on this right now is paper clips. So they're stuck here. So my thought with this was that if you have a kiddo that's working on pulling to stand, kneeling, cruising, they can be, in a low kneel and pulling up to a high kneel to pull something down. If you keep the paper clips or whatever materials you're using next to them on the floor, they can be maybe reaching over here even, transferring, reaching up and putting it back up, or vice versa, pulling something off the wall, transferring it, putting it into a container on the other side. So that's that. Or if they're standing and cruising, they can obviously be supported and standing here with you behind them, and playing with anything like this on the wall. You can also put any of your sensory items in a Ziploc bag. I always tape both sides of the 4 corners, and then you can tape that to the wall and have them playing, batting on it, driving their car over it, any of those things. Next up, these are toilet paper rolls, which we should all have a lot of or none of. So I taped those to the wall, and I colored them with Sharpie. So this one's blue, this one's pink, this one's yellow. And same type of thing, I put some bowls down here that correspond with the color. So the yellow one has a yellow bowl, red has a red cup, and blue has a blue bowl. And I have those colored popsicle sticks again, but if you don't, you can use anything. You can use their toys, you can use anything. You can use Cheerios, whatever you have. So they put it down, and even if it misses, it's great problem solving. Let's move the cup over a little and see if that works. Let's see what'll happen if we stack two on top of each other. I wonder if it'll bounce off of this one and land in a different cup. Any of those things. You can also push your sensory bin against the wall and use some of these little cups to scoop your sensory materials and then put them down the chute. So that's really fun. And then this one is 2 paper towel rolls that are taped to make a little chute. Kids love these. I bring them to people's houses all the time and tape them up to their walls or their posts at the bottom of their stairs. They love them. Typically I use pom-poms, and they put them in, and same thing, like you can make a long one like a racetrack, and you can put anything down them, and then I just put this big bowl at the bottom here. So you put it in, it comes out the bottom. They love it. And same things as before in terms of working on language. So with these, they can have 2 color choices. So do you want the red one or the yellow one? Making sound effects to go down. If you don't have these with colors, do you want your truck or your car? Do you want your penguin or your llama? Whatever you have for toys, working on communicating back and forth, turn taking with a sibling. First it's his turn, then it's your turn, or setting up 2 of them and having a race. There's so many ways that you can work on communication, gross motor skills, so that crawling over the bubble wrap, getting into a kneeling position and standing, getting into that like half kneel position that we all work on in our visits, so getting into that and then standing up. Or cruising and standing against the wall. So you can work on so many things there. Jamie's interrupting our video here. Jamie's sensory seeking on the bubble wrap. But yeah, so that's just what I set up with things that I had in my house. So again, the rice container that I use for the sensory bin, I always keep these to use for 5 motor boxes to put things in. So that's that. So if anybody has any feedback, anything they want to see, or if you're just trying to survive as a mom and you're getting through the day, that's totally fine too. I just want to show you that if you don't have things at the house, or if your kids are getting sick of the toys, you can make novel, fun games and be working on their skills with things that you already have in your house and things that you're probably throwing away. So that's it. I hope everybody stays safe.